All right. 8. On these matters, I confess that Aristotle and Theophrastus have written, but consider Scavolia whether this is not wholly in my favor. For I do not borrow from them what the orator possesses in common with them, but they allow that what they say on these subjects belongs to oratory. There are other treatises accordingly. They distinguish by the name of the science on which each is written. Their treatises on oratory they entitle and designate as books of rhetoric, for when, in their discussions, as often happens, such topics present themselves as require them to speak of the immortal gods, of piety, of concord, of friendship, of the common rights of their fellow citizens, or those of all mankind, of the law of nations, of equity, of temperance, of greatness of mind, of every kind of virtue, all the academies and schools of philosophy, I imagine, will cry out that all these subjects are their property, and that no particle of them belongs to the orator. But when I have given them liberty to reason on all these subjects in corners to amuse their leisure, I shall give and assign to the orator his part, which is to set forth with full power and attraction the very same topics which they discuss in such tame and bloodless phraseology. These points I then discussed with the philosophers in person at Athens, for Marcus Marcellius, or countryman, who is now curl adile, obliged me to do so, and he would certainly have taken part in our present conversation were he not now celebrating the public games, for he was then a youth marvelously given to these studies. Of the institution of laws, of war, of peace, of alliances, of tributes, of the civil law as relating to various ranks and ages respectively, let the Greeks say, if they will say, that Lycurgus or Solon, although I think that these should be enrolled in the number of the eloquent, had more knowledge than Hyperides or Demosthenes, men of the highest accomplishments and refinement in oratory, or let our countrymen prefer in this sort of knowledge that Desmaveri, who wrote the 12 tables and who must have been a wise man, to Cervellus Galba and your father-in-law Laelus, who are allowed to have excelled in the glorious art of speaking. I, indeed, shall never deny that there are some sciences peculiarly well understood peculiarly well understood by those who have applied their whole study to the knowledge and consideration of them, but the accomplished and complete orator I shall call him who can speak on all subjects with variety and copiousness. 9. For often in those causes which all acknowledge properly to belong to orators, there is something to be drawn forth and adopted, not from the routine of the forum, which is the only knowledge that you grant to the orator, but from some of the more obscure sciences. I ask whether a speech can be made for or against sciences. No, against a general without an acquaintance with military affairs, or often without a knowledge of certain inland or maritime countries. Whether a speech can be made in the people about passing or rejecting laws, or in the Senate of any kind of public transactions without the greatest knowledge and judgment in political matters. Whether a speech can be adapted to excite or calm the thoughts and passions, which alone is a great business of the orator, without a most diligent examination of all those doctrines which are set forth on the nature and manners of men by the philosophers. I do not know whether I may not be less successful in maintaining what I am going to say, but I shall not hesitate to speak that which I think. Physics and mathematics and those other things which you just now decided to belong to other sciences belong to the peculiar knowledge of those who profess them. But if any one should illustrate those arts by eloquence, he must have recourse to the power of oratory. Nor if, as is said, Philo, the famous architect who built an arsenal for the Athenians, gave that people an eloquent account of his work, is it to be imagined that his eloquence proceeded from the art of the architect, but from that of the orator? Or if our friend Marcus Antonius, had to speak for Hermodorus On the subject of dock building, he would have spoken when he had learned the case from Herodotus, with elegance and copiousness drawn from the art quite unconnected with dock building. And Asclepius, whom we knew as a physician and a friend, did not, when he excelled others of his profession in eloquence, employ in his general elocution, I can't say that word, elocution, the art of physic, but that of oratory. When Socrates used to say that all men are sufficiently eloquent in that which they understand is very plausible but not true. It would have been nearer truth to say that no man can be eloquent on a subject that he does not understand, and that if he understands a subject ever so well, but is ignorant how to form the polish his speech, he cannot express himself eloquently even about what he does not understand, or does understand. Damn! And oratory, it's a bitch.